Today we're going to be talking about South Korea.
Why do we travel together? Lord knows.
At one point you looked like you joined like a K-pop boy band. What would you say is a must visit?
Must visit the village.
If you're in Seoul, you've got to go to Gangnam. And then in the evening we went to Seoul Tower.
There was a fence. It was a fence and it had all of those love locks on there.
Yeah. Wonder how many of those relationships have lasted. The food was amazing.
I actually remember you saying we come all the way to Korea and we get a halal restaurant where we have to cook our own food.
Exactly.
We then had to get a taxi to take us to this club.
We were looking around like trying to find this club.
There was a bookshelf there. And then while we stood there, somebody came out.
The bookshelf
Moved.
So welcome. This is Bantering Across Borders. I'm Sarah. This is Tony.
I'm Tony. Thank you. Hi.
We're two best friends who, between us, have been to over 100 countries. And so we're going to be sharing stories of those trips, reminiscing about our very random escapades and looking back on the mishaps, the highs and lows, all the while unpacking what it means for us both to be friends.
Yes. And it's around how did we get together? Why do we travel together? Lord knows. Why do we still travel together? And just hopefully it'll be interesting to other people who are interested in getting out on the road with buddies.
Perfect. So today we're going to be talking about South Korea, which was a trip that we did. I was looking it up in May 2017. So we went to Seoul specifically.
Wow.
And what were your expectations before we arrived in Seoul?
To be honest, I had none. I mean, I was one of those people that Korea was Kim Jong-un. I'm not even sure it was him or his dad at that time, but it was that crazy place over there. And that was all I knew. I didn't know the level of development of the place or anything about it. I was just, Sarah said, let's go to South Korea. And so I said, okay.
And what was your lasting memory, would you say?
Well, we'll get to it, but it was Harry Potter.
The Harry Potter, yes.
Yeah, the Harry Potter.
Well, yeah, exactly. So we'll get into that a little bit further. But today we're going to be talking about South Korea. We will be talking about the 3-day trip that we took to Seoul, and as we said, all the while unpacking what it means to be what it means for us to be friends, and also, I guess, why travel bonds us.
Yeah. That's a good phrase, why it bonds us. And it does, and it has, and I think it continues to, because we've done many more since then. Yeah.
And then for the last episode, we were in Saudi Arabia. So we're now moving from Saudi Arabia to South Korea.
Yes, I mean, I think that's one of the great things about the relationship is that pretty much we've done Africa, we've done Asia, we've done Europe. That was another spontaneous one. We haven't done America yet.
Yeah, no, that's next on the list.
That's on the list. Yeah.
Oh, maybe not. Given the next 4 years.
We missed our window.
Yeah, we missed our window of opportunity for America.
Yeah.
But yeah, so for those who missed the last episode.
It was Saudi. That was the inaugural event, effectively. Yeah. That was the first time we hit the road together.
Absolutely.
And I think that laid kind of a foundation of expectations. Which have no expectations.
But we also spent the episode doing some myth busting around traveling to Saudi Arabia, and so we encourage everyone to listen in and actually to go to Saudi. But for today, South Korea. So a trip that we did. It was our third trip together, May 2017. So it was like a 10-hour flight from Dubai. I remember, and I think that was one of my lasting memories, is that it's way further away than I had anticipated. If you actually look where South Korea is on the map, like if you go sort of due south, you end up hitting Indonesia and Australia. One
of the great things about the travelling part is that the world becomes a lot smaller as long as you're prepared to, do those 5, 10, 15-hour flights. But, the world actually gets a lot smaller. And you then actually, Saudi Arabia, as we talked about last time, is a massive country. And I was living there at the time, so it's actually a journey to get out of it, to get anywhere, but you always think Asia's just around the corner,
right?
And that's because everybody stops on the way through Dubai to get places, so you automatically assume everywhere's close until, as you say, you do a 10-hour flight to somewhere which is supposed to be just around the corner.
Yeah, exactly.
But yes, it was good. It was good. It was a nice journey anyway. I enjoyed it.
And this was a trip that we arranged ourselves. So we did some independent travel there, basically very relatively simplistic, booked our own hotel, arranged a coach tour. I stayed on a day extra than
That's right,
you
did.
did.
Yeah.
So I managed to go to what they call like the DMZ, which is the demilitarization zone between North Korea and South Korea. But we'll talk a little bit about that later. But Tony and I have done a lot of trips with Escape Travels, based out of Dubai. It's a sort of a boutique travel company, and they focus really on small group travels, which is actually great for making new friends. So stick around because they've given us a discount code actually for anyone to redeem against any of the trips that they have upcoming. But let's look at the Seoul trip, right?
The Seoul trip, yes.
So we stayed in a place called, I think it was Myeongdong. And sorry, I'm going to end up like crucifying every
This is
single...
not the BBC. This is not the BBC.
I'm going to end up crucifying every single place name, which was kind of in the heart of the city. It was next to a metro and it was near a sort of a shopping district.
Yeah,
right?
It was like bang in the middle of it. I mean, when we went for breakfast in the morning, you looked out of the window and you had a whole shopping street there, and you kind of got the temperature of the city from that by the level of activity that was going on right outside our front door. So that was good. That was good fun.
It was a really good place to go to. And then we got on a coach trip from my memory. We joined one, and our first stop was...
Go for it.
Gyeongbokgung Palace. Is that not how you say it? Gyeongbokgung.
I have absolutely no clue.
It's one of the 5 grand palaces in Seoul, and is dated back to the late 1300s, actually. But my initial memory of it is it's straight off of a roundabout. So that was one of my takeaways from South Korea is that, and Seoul specifically, is that it's very modern, but then... like you have these sort of sporadic, sort of like oldie worldy type buildings, sort of all mixed in with one another.
It's really interesting in that perspective as well, because, like you say, that was one of the things. Like I said, when I went there, I had no expectations, but when I got there, I was shocked at just how developed it was.
Yeah,
and it was stunningly modern.
I think it has something like the highest internet speed in the world, I was reading, or one of the highest internet speeds in the world, actually. But you're right, everything is like completely
Super
sort of
modern.
automated.
Yeah.
But yeah, in the middle of it all is this very beautiful, very, very big palace, which I'm not going to attempt to pronounce the name of again. But I remember it very well because all of the people there, whether they were like local Koreans or whether they were tourists, a lot of people were wearing what they call this hanbok outfit.
Yes.
So it's very, very traditional sort of Korean clothing. And we learned afterwards, I think, that you can get into the palace for free if you dress up in their traditional clothes. But we didn't pack our hanbok outfits.
I wouldn't have done it anyway. That was before the days that fancy dress was a thing for me. But it was very interesting to see, and again, learning about different styles and cultures. And I remember there was one point where it was actually quite busy the weekend that we were there, and they had a lot of tourists there. But it was amazing. The place was actually swarming with tourists for some special event, which I still can't remember what it was.
I remember that I think it was Buddha's birthday the week before. So maybe they were all in town for that. I only know that because of the temple that we went to, and the temple was especially like decorated out.
That's true. Yeah,
and I have a feeling it was because of Buddha's birthday, but there was some special occasion.
It was very, very busy.
Right. Also very big, so take your walking shoes, I think, if you're going to be spending some time there.
Comfort is key.
Comfort is key. But my biggest memory there is just literally everybody taking photographs of you. I think they were, everyone just thought you were someone famous.
And it happens all the time.
Well, I know, right? But this
happened
was
yesterday, actually, at
did
work.
It?
Yeah,
at work.
At work, one of the guys at work came up to me and he said, because he was looking at me strangely, and he said, are you someone famous? I am now. To you, but no, it happens all the time. It happens all the time.
Yeah. So share in the comments who you think Tony looks like, because we have our own guesses on who people think he is. But literally, he was crowded by. At one point, you looked like you joined like a K-pop boy band. I've got these amazing photos of him, like in the middle of like 6 or 7 really cool young Korean guys, all happy to have their photos taken with him.
Making me blush.
And for me, I mean, they also took photos with me, but typically only because I was with
Side
you.
chick.
Yeah, side chick, exactly. But I remember feeling amazingly tall, which I hardly ever do in any other part of the world. But one part of the world where I'm a little bit taller than the average.
No, it was great. I mean, and the architecture again. That's one of the things about some of these places that we went to. So there was Gyeongbokgung, and then we moved on to Jogi.
Jogesa
Thank
Temple.
you. That's the place,
Yeah.
Jogesa Temple. To be honest, you know me, my geography is absolutely terrible. If I didn't fly to Dubai every week, I wouldn't know where it was on a map. but Jogesa Temple, again, that was another one of those fantastic architectural places that we went to see. And it was a great tour.
Yeah, I really liked the Jogesa Temple because I think it was extra decorated when we were there, but you remember there was almost like, and I don't mean to be disparaging when I say this, but it was like hanging luggage tags like from the ceilings. They were all in these different colours. They were sort of yellow and red.
Oh, right, yeah.
And I think it's people wrote their wishes on them, and then it sort of got like hung from these lanterns. But then on the other side, there were all these white luggage tags, for want of a better word, which was also to sort of pay respect to the people who'd passed.
Those who'd gone before.
So it's a Buddhist temple, also from the 1300s, but also slap bang in the middle of a shopping district as well, right? So this was again something that was a sort of a reoccurring theme.
But again, even with that, the leaving of mementos for people that are here and for people that have gone seemed to be a recurrent theme throughout the city. There was different places where you saw that people like to commemorate the fact that they had been or others had been.
Yeah.
So that was a bit surprising. And that traditionalism within the modernity of the city, again, was something that was continuous contrast.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's important to note that it's a working temple, right? So people there are actually sort of worshipping. So it's not a tourist site. Mm-hmm. And then we went on to another of the palaces. So as I said, there are 5 palaces. And then we went on to Changdeongkong Palace, which is also from sort of the same dynasty as the original one that we saw. I think that one's the UNESCO World Heritage Site.
And I literally just got a vision of us walking through the gardens towards it. It just flashed up into my head even as you were mentioning it.
Well, exactly. That's the one thing to me that differentiated it. I think it was a little bit quieter than the original, the first place of the Gyeongbokgung Palace. By the way, actually, the one thing I remember from the Gyeongbokgung Palace, apart from you being photographed all the time, is the changing of the guard.
Yes.
I don't know how many times of day they did it, but we were there for it. And what I remember specifically is that a lot of the men had false beards. I think it was like part of their uniform.
I'm trying to visualize that. I can't.
Either that, or it was an amazing barber who had everybody like have their beard hair to, exactly.
It's Korea.
Uniform.
It's Korea. I'd go with the good barber.
Okay. I was going for the fake beard, but
I'd go for the precision barbering. To be honest, in a place like that, they take stuff like that. I mean, you look at the whole pop scene and the fashion scene and all of that. They take that stuff seriously.
Yeah, that's true. They're very well groomed, actually.
Very well groomed.
Very well groomed. Beautiful skin as well. Beautiful skin. But Changdeongkong was quieter, and it also, in my opinion, was more serene. It had these very beautiful, very sort of iconic trees, like giant bonsais in a way, you know,
Yes.
that
I was trying to think of that word.
that were sort of very ornate.
Yeah.
And they did have like these little sort of secret gardens in different places. So that was very worth the visit.
Wasn't that one of the? Is it the emperor? Wasn't that the emperor's palace?
They all belong to the same dynasty.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure which palace they lived in and which palace they, picnicked in.
I have a feeling it might have been the empress's palace. But anyway, for anyone who can work out our pronunciation, get artificial intelligence to work it out for you. You can do the research. But either way, as Sarah's mentioned, there's multiple palaces to go to, and each one of them is ornate and stunningly beautiful. And when you consider they're hundreds of years old.
Having said that, they were they're replicas because I think particularly during the Japanese occupation that they were bombed and destroyed. But then since the 1960s, they were like building up some of the replicas. So it's a mix, I think, between original building and replicas. But even if it is a replica, architecturally it's beautiful and it didn't look fake in my uneducated opinion. Then we went to the shopping district. So there's this famous shopping district called Insadong, which was quite close to the temple, actually. But that was during the day, and we had this urge to go to Gangnam, right? Because if you're in Seoul, you've got to go to Gangnam. Everyone remembers Gangnam Style and Psy. So we were aiming for a restaurant in Gangnam and found one. Followed the TripAdvisor reviews, and we arrived and looked very, very ordinary, right?
Very, very ordinary. It was
even a bit sticky, I would say.
I think it was the second or third top ranked restaurant in Gangnam, and when we got in there, it was basically like an Arab cafe.
Well, yes, this was the funny thing about it afterwards is that. We're both based in the Middle East, right? So Tony in Saudi, I'm in Dubai, and we ended up eating at a halal restaurant. So in all of the places that we managed to find in Korea, we ended up in a halal restaurant. And by the way, the next day, then we ended up on a trip with two people from Kuwait, if you remember as well. So it made me feel very at home, I have to say.
Arabs on tour.
Yeah, it made me feel very, very, very at home. But this restaurant, it was called Yang. I looked it up. The restaurant was called Yang Good, and it was. It's very, very simplistic, and it's a barbecue, like a self-barbecue restaurant. Not barbecuing yourself, but barbecuing that.
There is the danger of that.
DIY barbecue, and only served lamb, right?
I actually remember you saying we come all the way to Korea and we get a halal restaurant where we have to cook our own food.
Exactly. I know. But it was the food was amazing, right? It was really, really, and actually the food throughout South Korea was beautiful, actually. We did a lot of barbecue stuff, but this particular halal lamb restaurant was good, although it was very steamy, I remember, right? Because each table is, and it was a relatively small restaurant, each table is barbecuing their own lamb. And yeah, I mean, it's, you're going to have a sweat on
pretty rapidly.
Pretty rapidly. Yeah. But yeah, so we were happy. We went to the restaurant, then decided to go on to a club, right?
Yes. And that was it. That's what we were asking around, where's a good place to go? And then I'm not sure whether it was on TripAdvisor.
I think it might have been. I don't
remember it being there. But anyway, wherever we got the reference from, we then had to get a taxi to take us to this to this club. And I remember
still in Gangnam, right?
Still in Gangnam, yeah. And I remember him dropping us off in this road, which is almost like a back alley out of an American movie.
And it was a back alley, and it was also kind of in a residential area, right?
And it was like, okay, fine, this doesn't look like this. It's going to be a happening. And it was dark.
It was dark, there were no lights, there was no people.
No happeningness going on. And so we was like, okay, fine. And he was kind of disappearing up the road. And then I can't remember, I think we had to ask someone. And he said, oh, yeah, you have to go there. It's like the second one, and then you go downstairs. It was like, okay, fine. So we turned up at this place, looked like an office block, and we went down the stairs, and it was okay.
It was like a cleaning cupboard or something,
Yeah,
right?
it was-
In this.
Well, there was a bookshelf. I've got
Yeah,
the
there's a
pictures.
bookshelf and there was a.
Yeah, and cleaning cupboard, and it was like there was a bookshelf there, and it was like, okay. And then while we stood there, I think somebody came out.
Yeah, literally, like the book, like we were looking around, like trying to find this club,
Yeah,
thinking we must have gone down the wrong stairs or we've been given the wrong instructions.
Yeah.
And literally, the bookshelf
moved.
like, and someone came out of the bookshelf. And then we realized it was a secret door.
It was a secret door
to
into
this club.
It was
And-
lovely. It was absolutely amazing. When you got inside, it was all dark, and they had the massive.
And you couldn't
bar.
hear anything from the outside, though, right?
Brilliant.
So you had no idea. If you didn't know it was there,
Yeah.
or if you didn't know, I think the way to get in, there was a certain book that you had to push, right? Or pull or whatever. But of course, we didn't know that.
But it was stunning. It was stunning. It was an absolutely amazing bar, and the vibe in there was really, really
It was like
good.
one of these old-fashioned like speakeasies, you know, like these
That's the term.
prohibition bars with everyone like secretly behind this wall. Amazing cocktails,
Yes.
great vibe.
Yeah, that was great. And I've, like as I said before, you know, lasting memory of Seoul, Korea was we called it the Harry Potter
bar, yeah, yeah, absolutely.
hidden behind the bookcase, and it was fantastic.
It's called The Chamber. I managed to find it.
right,
Yeah,
okay.
it's either called The Chamber or Le Chambre, something like that.
Okay.
But yeah, if anyone wants to go and see it, but it's really cool. It's
Yeah.
a really cool music
Worth a
there
trip.
as well. Yeah, worth a trip. But you've got to work out how to get into the bar first.
That was day one.
This was day one of the trip, and then day two, I think you were even flying back that evening because you had a really silly schedule. Like you do this all the time. Like you get on a plane for like 12 hours, spend a day somewhere, and then fly back. I don't know how you do it. I think you sleep on planes.
I think it's that, but it's also I've been in the situation where, particularly in the Gulf, the challenge is that, you know, we don't work on a Friday when everybody else is working, which is great if you want to go to places because everybody else is at work and you can go and do the sightseeing thing. But then Saturday, you've got to cram it in because you've got to be back at work on the Sunday morning. Right. And I mean, you have been more capable. I mean, you did it with Seoul, you did it with, where was the other one? Sri Lanka. You've done it in a few places where you've actually been able to take the extra day either side.
Right.
But usually for me, the management have always wanted to have a meeting first thing on a Sunday morning, which effectively you work your flights back from when can I get in.
Yeah.
So that's always been a thing.
But it's amazing though because you still remain awake and alert. You know, I'm grumpy for the whole trip if I haven't had like a night's sleep. But
I'm one of those people that if there's something to do, I'm awake.
Yeah.
The moment I stop having something to do, I will sleep.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So
But
yeah,
anyway.
then next time we went to the Folk Museum. So this is a little bit further out into the of the city of Seoul. Not too far though. It was
Not too far.
like
Lovely.
40 minutes, something like that. And it was it's like a live-in village. So it's not a museum. It's like an open air kind of live-in village.
Yeah.
Which, as we said, we ended up booking a trip there and ended up with two people from Kuwait. But you really liked that. I remember that.
After Harry Potter, I have to say that was my second favourite part. It was brilliant because the whole village was set out in a certain way where it replicated different parts of Korea, or South Korea anyway. But it replicated different parts. So, you know, they had old villages or old buildings from one type, and then there was the bit where they did all of the folk dancing and all of that. And then there was the big garden that we went and sat in that had all of the little plants, and that's when it started to rain, which for me was, if it wasn't you, it would have been a very, very romantic. But it was. I really, really enjoyed that. I, to be honest, if I went back to Seoul, that's the first place I would go, and I'd probably spend the whole day just there.
Nice.
I really loved it.
Yeah, I also enjoyed it. Not as much as you did, but it was fun, right? Like there's lots of things to do. And then in the evening we went to Seoul Tower. Now I can't remember if we walked up or if we got a cable car up. I have a
cable car.
I was going to say, yeah. I think we probably got the cable car.
I've got pictures of us in the cable car going up.
Yeah, because I typically don't walk like anywhere that is not flat.
Rock.
Yeah. So I thought it would have been burned into my memory if we'd have walked up. So we did do the cable car.
We got the cable car. But again, this is one of those things I was saying before about mementos, because remember there was that I can't remember whether it was a bridge or it was a gate or something, but there was a fence. It was a fence and it had all of those love locks on there. And I mean, I was looking at the picture of that the other day as well, and it was just literally hundreds of them.
Yeah. I'm surprised the bridge could still hold the weight of it, actually, because they were solid locks as well, right? They weren't.
It's not your little luggage lock.
No, exactly. It's not the key ring you bought at Dubai Airport. Like proper padlocks.
Yeah, solid. And it was literally hundreds of them, all painted different colours and everything as well. So that was great.
Yeah, I wonder how many of those relationships have lasted.
Such a cynic.
I mean, is it like I don't know if they're like locking themselves onto the bridge in the hope that it's going to last, or whether it, as a wish, in the belief, or whether it was more something to do with, they've already been together for a long time. But anyway, we'll never know. Yeah, it is cute. And then there's nice views from Seoul Tower as well. I think we went up for a sunset. Yeah,
it was great fun. I really enjoyed it. And yet again, that was another example of the modernity of the city. Having been in temples and palaces the day before, and then the next day we're up in this whopping great big, skyscraper in the middle of town. So
right.
It's stunning with the cable car.
Yeah. No,
like you say, you don't like to walk, and neither do I. They've got escalators and travelators all throughout the city. Yeah, so that was great.
And then you flew out that evening.
Yes.
If I remember, and I stayed on an extra day.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to see this, they call it the DMZ, so the Demilitarization Zone, which is not quite the border of South Korea and North Korea, because that's what they call the JSA, so the Joint Security Area, I think it's called. So that's where, the handshakes are done and where all the politicians meet. So that's right on the border. There are trips that you can do for the DMZ and the JSA, but I only did the DMZ one. But yeah, that was really interesting because you get to see, they show you around the tunnels that are coming from North Korea. So where people have been trying to get out of North Korea, there's these tunnels that they found, like trying to sort of get under the border. There's also like the train tracks of, a train that, can no longer cross the border. And I think for me, most interesting, because I'd heard about it, was that each side of the border is blasting out sounds, right? So from the North Korea side, as I understand it, it's all kind of propaganda being blasted over, and from the South Korea side, they blast out K-pop. So like really sort of shrill K-pop, but really, really loud levels of volume. And so that's just like blasted over. And you can go to like one area where they've got the telescopes essentially, and you can look at the telescopes, and you can look across kind of at North Korea, and it's kind of like spot the soldier thing. But it is worth going to. So yeah, I recommend it.
And that war isn't actually. That's not officially finished, is it?
No, they're two separate countries. So
no, they're two separate countries, but they were at war.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, it's one of the wars that was never officially ended, so to speak. Yeah, you're right.
I know they were talking about that a few months ago, about officially calling it quits.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, there was something a few months ago they were talking, because of the fact that it never actually did close. It never did actually end.
Oh, okay, interesting.
There's no winner, no loser. They just said, agree to disagree, you do your stuff. But that whole blasting music at each other, again, seems to be, particularly in areas like that. I mean, India and Pakistan, they do the same thing on the border.
Oh, do they?
Yeah. And they have a big military display, that's the word, big military display in the afternoon where the Pakistani army, Pakistani Defence Force, and then the Indian equivalent, and they do the same thing either side of the border, and there's a big gate in the middle, and you can see through to their side, they can see through to your side, and it's just like noise. It is the noise.
Wow.
It's amazing. But it seems to be one of these things that, come and have a go if you think you're hard enough.
It's posturing. It's
word,
my arm is bigger than your army. Just mention, I went back to Korea last year. So I went with, I have other friends. So I did another trip to Seoul, and then I flew from Seoul to Jeju Island, which is kind of so if you imagine South Korea, like South Korea is sort of dangling between China and Japan, and then Jeju Island is really sort of I think it's in the East China Sea, dangling right off of the bottom of South Korea. And the reason I mentioned that is one of the reasons I wanted to go to Seoul originally was that it's also well known for wellness and these sort of breathe-in forests, and we didn't get a chance to do that. We didn't see we didn't do the forests while we were in Seoul the first time. And Jeju Island is basically a whole sort of wellness area. So it's a quick flight from Seoul.
Yeah.
And that was very, very different because I did a lot of walking, not as modern, like no levels of English. So we were walking around like with Google Translate.
Wow.
I remember that the Google Maps and things doesn't work there, and I think it's also the same in South Korea, but it was definitely in the rest of South Korea. But in Jeju, they have you're asked to download kind of a local version of their maps. I think it's called the Nava app. There's a few of them, but Google and Apple and everything doesn't work. So we were literally sort of walking around. I went there for the cherry blossom season, and it's amazing. It's a lot cheaper than going to Japan to see the cherry blossom season.
Which you've done but not done.
Yeah, I famously went to Japan for the cherry blossom season at the wrong time. Really arrived and it was already completely over. But in Jeju Island, beautiful, cherry blossoms, and as I said, much cheaper than going to Japan. All right. So is there anything that you would have liked to have done that we didn't do, or anything you would have liked to have experienced that we didn't?
To be honest, I think that, well, first of all, we went to the shopping district, but there was that massive shopping mall that we went past on the way to Seoul Tower, which was famous for something, I think because it was the biggest one in Seoul, but we never got a chance to go inside. And you know me, I like window shopping. So that's something I would have liked to do. I know it's a little bit shallow, but I would have liked to have done that. I would also have liked to have gone to a club.
Yeah.
Because K-pop is a massive thing over there.
That's true.
It's not my favourite type of music, but I have always said that, when you go to a place, it's like going to Lagos and going to the shrine. That's not my type of music, but going to the shrine and hearing it in situ changes your interpretation of it. So those are the two things that I would like to have done. We didn't do. If I went back, I'd definitely do.
Yeah, no, good point. So let's talk a bit about our friendship. So this is always the tricky part of the conversations, where we try to decipher why we're friends and also uncover things that we maybe don't know about each other. But let me ask you this question, because I don't think we said this at the beginning, but I arranged I booked South Korea basically, right? I decided one day I was going, I booked a hotel, I booked my flights, and then I said to you, I'm going, do you want to come? And you said yes, obviously, but why did you decide to join?
I think there's three reasons. The first one is I like you.
Thank you. Did you do that?
No, I do. I like you. I think you're a lovely person, an all-round lovely person. So that's the first thing. The second thing is you booked it. You know, what do I have to do? You had no choice. Well, the thing is, what do I have to do? I just book a plane and I turn up. You know, so another
it's
country,
easy for you, I guess.
another country, tick. And it's not tick box tourism, but it is a case of if you're going to go and travel somewhere with someone. Part of the fun for some people is the organising. For me, get there and do it. And if somebody's done organising already, it makes it even easier. And then the third thing about it is, it's like I say, South Korea. You know, I'm not going to pick somewhere like that to go to myself.
Okay.
I'm going to pick somewhere that I think is going to be easier.
Oh, really?
Yeah. You know, if I know I can just jump on a plane and go somewhere, you know, wander around, come back, that's easy. Job done. But if somebody says, let's go somewhere like, it's like, great. I mean, if you look at the places that we've been to, when we talk to people and we say, oh, we went there. Why did you go there? Oh, we went there. Why did you go there? Because we could.
Yeah, because we were allowed to.
Or usually because Sarah booked it.
Yes. Yes, you're making me sound very dictatorial.
Not at all. No, you're encouraging.
Encouraging, that's a good word. I like that. I like that too, encouraging. And what did we learn about each other on this trip, would you say, if anything? Because this was, as I said, it was our third or fourth trip. So there were no, from my perspective, there were no amazing revelations this time.
No, I think like I said, you know, when we went into that restaurant, we fly all the way to South Korea and we find a halal restaurant and we cook our own food. It's just like, yeah, that's what we did. But those are the kind of observations that you make every now and again, which for me makes it worthwhile. You know, those kind of little things.
The banter.
Well, exactly. It's the stating the bleeding obvious.
Did it not need to be said?
But it adds to it. It adds to it, and so you know, I like that. That's one of the things I like about it, and you're consistent with that. I think the other thing as well, and you mentioned it earlier on around there must have been you can't imagine yourself having walked up the stairs.
Yes.
No, that's one of the things I've learned from you, and you have repeated it throughout our trips. Is I'm not putting the extra effort in. I do go to the gym and I am relatively fit, but I'm not here to work out.
No, exactly. Unless there's something like really
Flamingos.
Promising. Yeah, we'll talk about the flamingos in another episode. But I will walk like deep into a forest to look at a monkey. But I won't walk up like 1,000 steps just to look at a tower that I can see from the ground. It's not an efficient use of time.
Yeah, so that's one of the things I've learned about you, and you're consistent in that. So that's great.
All right, so I bought these things called conversation packs, actually. One of them is for couples, and I know we're not like a couple, so I've taken out any kind of vaguely intimate questions because I don't want us to get into any embarrassing scenarios. But I'm going to ask you, first of all, to pick a category. And let me just read them out. So one is like life lessons, one is courage, one is beliefs, one is exposed, and one is self-awareness. So what would...
Exposed.
I knew you were going to say exposed.
See, you know me so well.
It's like such schoolboy humour. Exposed. He's going to flash me.
Grammar school.
All right. So pick a card and then decide whether you want to answer the question or not.
I picked it.
Okay.
Oh, it's one question on the card.
Yeah. But if you don't want to answer it, like it should be sort of relatively. This isn't a therapy session, so I don't want it to be like long answers.
No. This one is just which historical character could you have been in a past life and why? Robin Hood.
Robin Hood.
Yeah.
Why, you like to wear tights?
I thought you took out all the sexual questions. Robin, no, because I like to give to the poor.
Aww.
I like to help the less what you call them,
Less fortunate.
Less fortunate, that's the word.
Very nice. Now I'm picturing you with
green tights.
Green tights and bow and arrow. Then we have this other pack here. So just pick a card. Then they're all...
Oh, that's an easy one. What did you want to be when you were 10 years old?
What did you want to be?
Teacher.
Oh, really? What kind of teacher?
A sports teacher.
Nice. Yeah, I can imagine you being a sports teacher.
I wanted to be a sports teacher. My brother was a PTA in the army, physical training instructor.
Oh, nice.
And he used to come home and he was a boxer as well. He actually was a very middleweight champion.
I remember. Is that the brother who was in the Olympics?
No, that's the other brother. He was a weightlifter.
Okay, yeah, that was it. I remember you come from quite a sporty
my brother was a
family.
German middleweight champion. And so he used to come home and practice and stuff like that, which is one of the reasons why I never wanted to be a boxer. Because as a kid, I'd hold up his punching pads and for a laugh, he'd punch me in the face. And I thought, no, that's not...
And you weren't laughing.
I weren't laughing. But I always wanted to be a PTA because I was always into sports and stuff like that.
Nice.
But then at school, they said, no, because you can't be a sports teacher. You have to do another subject with sports as the second subject, because our sports teacher was the biology teacher, the geography teacher, the chemistry teacher, people like that.
Yeah, the sports was a sort of a side hustle.
Yeah, whereas that's not actually true, because you could have gone to Bath or Loughborough or Leeds, which are the big top universities globally for sports education. I could have gone to one of those.
You got some bad advice.
I got some bad advice. But yeah, I always wanted to be a teacher.
I wanted to be Douglas Hurd. You remember Douglas Hurd?
Was he the Home Secretary?
The Home Secretary, or or the Foreign Secretary.
Jesus Christ.
I was obsessed. With the guy.
Mr. Ice Cream Head.
I literally wanted to, be sort of like a diplomat and...
For anybody who doesn't know who Douglas Hurd is, watch Spitting Images from the 90s. I think it was the 80s or the 90s. Watch Spitting Images in their caricature of Douglas Hurd.
He's a typical grey British man, by the way. Very grey British man.
He made John Major look colourful.
Yes, he did.
Wow.
Yes. Revelations, eh?
You can pick one for yourself.
I'll pick one for myself. What is this one? What was the best part of your day so far?
Today?
You're asking a question, to me. So best part of my day was when Tony turned up. So Tony doesn't live in Dubai, and I was here early like I always am. And then I was waiting for him, and he turned up and told me how nice it was to see me, and it made my day. Are you blushing?
Again. Yeah.
Blushing again. Yeah. All right, so back to the trip.
Back to the trip.
to South Korea before we all get emotional.
Yeah. Little interlude there.
A little interlude. So quick fire questions. So just quick answers, basically. What was your favourite moment?
Harry Potter.
The Harry Potter bar, yeah, I think we agreed on that. What would you say is a must visit?
I'd say Seoul Tower or Harry Potter.
Okay.
No, actually, no. Take that back. Must visit the village.
The folk museum.
Village.
The folk village. Yeah,
definitely.
I think my must visit would be the DMZ part of it, because I think that's it's a very unique thing, right? Like it's something that you don't really have in other parts of the world, and it helps you sort of understand the history as well as sort of the current state of affairs. One piece of
advice when traveling to Seoul.
So I think something that I learned on my second trip to Seoul was to use the metro's system more. Because we went around a lot with taxis and things. We didn't even attempt to take it, because it's all in Korean. It's a bit like the metro system in Japan. To me, from the outside, it looks very confusing. But I think I did it when I was in Seoul. I traveled around on the metro system, and it just makes traveling around really easy, and it's cheap. And then my other piece of advice would be to download the correct apps for your maps and things, because your standard Google Maps, Apple Maps, or whatever won't work there.
Okay. And must take travel accessory?
For this trip specifically, must take travel accessory.
padlock.
But I have no one to love.
We don't have to get married, darling. It's 2025.
So a padlock, yeah, that's a good answer. Yeah.
It would have been nice. It would be nice to go back and see our little padlock on that fence.
Yeah, that's true. All right, so must take travel accessory, a padlock. So, but for people tuning in like right now who haven't heard why we're talking about padlocks, they're gonna think
rewind.
They're gonna think all strange things if you say
no. Only your friends are gonna think strange things.
The first thing you must always travel with is a padlock and some rope.
Jesus Christ. Who is this woman? This Douglas Hurd loving padlock and rope carrying. Mad woman. Where are we not going next? Most interesting fact you learnt about South Korea.
There's a couple of things. So one is that the first cloned dog comes from Korea. So we've heard of Dolly the sheep, where there was also Snuppy the dog. And they also hold the world record for a house that looks most like a toilet or something. There's some random world records. There's also the number of, they have the highest. A person in South Korea won the record for eating the most watches as well. So yeah,
eating the most watches.
Yeah, probably while he was in his toilet-shaped house with his cloned dog.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
No, it is a bit
Kids,
random.
don't try this at home, please. Daddy's not going to be happy to fish the Rolex out of the toilet. Anyway, okay, fine. Wow, there you go.
Yes, indeed.
Shocked.
So we're nearly at the end. We promised you a discount code from Escape Travels. Mm-hmm. So it's escape-travels.com. They've given us a very complicated discount code. So it's K for Korea, F for France, Y for Yemen, E for Ethiopia, P for the Philippines, L for Liberia, Q for Qatar, and P for Poland. So use that up until June the 30th and you can get a 5% discount off of any of their upcoming trips.
And I would say P for Paris, because there's going to be a lot of people who are going to say P for Philippines. I thought it started with an F.
Yeah, good point, actually.
Do you want to do the code again?
Yeah, very good point. No, we put it up on the screen and people need to learn how to spell. All right, so sum up our trip. 3 words to sum up the trip.
Shockingly developed, diverse.
Shockingly developed and diverse. Oh, it's almost a sentence. So my 3 words, I think, would be like refreshing and traditional, yet modern. It's not that exciting 3 words, but I can't think of anything better at the moment.
They're 3 great words.
3 great words.
3 great words. Okay, cool. So is that Seoul done?
Seoul is done. We're going to be talking about our trip to Djibouti. In our next episode. So do tune in and you will find out why I don't like pink birds. All right. So thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. And have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
See you later.